3 years ago, I was in such a dark place, I tried to take my own life. They stood by their adopted daughter and warned me, stop causing trouble. 3 years later, I got out of prison alone. Their lives were in ruins. They pleaded with me, we're family, after all. When I was released, no one came to greet me. Our family driver looked apologetic, I'm sorry, miss. Anna suddenly wasn't feeling well today. I waved a hand, telling him to cut the excuses. I stared out the window, expressionless, lost in thought. Back at the greenhouse, the nanny couldn't believe her eyes. Miss Green, you look so worn out. Without a word, I headed straight to the second floor. As a kid, I lived on the third floor, same as Alex. But after Anna arrived, she'd frequently faint, so for convenience, she took my room. Throwing a fit got me nowhere. My father, who'd always doted on me, scolded harshly, you've been spoiled your whole life. Time to grow up. Without discussion, he ordered my things moved to a guest room on the second floor, across from the butler and housekeeper. By the time everyone was home, it was already lit up. Once Anna was settled, Alex personally brought her warm water. Jack covered her with a light blanket, tucking her hair behind her ear. Has Jane returned? Mrs. Green glanced around the empty living room and asked in a whisper. The nanny hesitated. Tell her to come down for dinner, Mr. Green said. The nanny knocked on my door. Miss, they're back. I let her guide me downstairs with tact. When they heard us, 5 pairs of eyes glanced over. To this day, I remember the look of disbelief on their faces. Like maybe they'd started to regret things. After years in the hole, I was a shadow of myself, with gray streaks in my hair and frail limbs. No longer the vibrant Miss Green. Their reaction didn't faze me. I went to the table and they had left a seat for me. I obediently sat down. Seeing the gray in my hair up close, Mrs. Green couldn't hold back her tears. Jane, honey, it's okay, now. Alex comforted his mother softly, she's back now. Mr. Green cleared his throat, it's all in the past. Let's eat. The dining room was unusually quiet, except for the clinking of silverware. Jack skillfully cut up a steak and swapped plates with me. Have this. That was our old habit. Once he fell for me, Jack began cutting my steak. But when Anna came, that privilege shifted. Because, as he said, she was my sister. The big must give way to the small. Especially when the smaller one needed more attention. No one found it odd. It just seemed natural. Only I thought it unfair, unreasonable. Surprisingly, I was once more enjoying that privilege. Anna didn't look pleased, sitting beside Jack in what used to be my spot. I accepted the plate with politeness, thanks. Jane, how have you been these 3 years? Mrs. Green asked cautiously, her eyes red. I paused mid-motion. Couldn't believe she was still that fake and dumb after 3 years. Jane. Under the dazzling lights, their opulence made my graying hair look even more out of place. Mrs. Green felt sad about my appearance. I hadn't thought of a sassy retort for her until Mr. Green frowned at my silence. To ease the tense atmosphere, I forced a smile, I'm fine. What's the point of asking when we all know the answer? All right, let the past go. We'll make it up to Jane later. Mr. Green, the head of the family, spoke. He figured my return would stir things up, imagined I'd be combative, causing chaos like before. Now seeing me quietly eating dinner, he was pleased. Yes, yes. Mrs. Green quickly nodded, dishing food onto my plate. As if it'd help her feel better. Jane, eat up. You're so thin. I'll make sure to have soup ready for you every day from now on. I ignored her. Dad, you once promised compensation when I got out. I put down my knife and fork, asking him like I did back when I wanted toys. Oh my, I forgot. Mrs. Green hurriedly brought out a deep blue gift box, smiling a bit too sweetly. Jane, we all got you something. Hope you like it. Such an annoying woman. I kept irritation at bay, taking the gift and opening it. An exquisite Hermes brooch. 3 years ago, I'd grumbled often about her favoring Anna. That day, she actually made time to shop with me. I picked a brooch, insisting she buy it for me. Mrs. Green agreed with a laugh, urging me to try it on. But before we even got it, Anna's medical emergency had Mrs. Green dragging me home. Now, that brooch sat quietly in its box, dazzlingly beautiful. Mrs. Green looked at me expectantly. 2 bad times passed. Things change. Thanks. I was as cool as ever. Mrs. Green was stunned. She probably never thought I'd be so indifferent. I got something too. Bro. Alex was about to get up when I interrupted. He stopped, frozen. I hadn't called him brother since I was 10. Once, he'd snatched my hair clip, holding it high till I used that title. Tearfully, I'd refused. You've got your Anna, why bother me? He just made faces, calling me stingy. Who'd have thought I'd say it again after all these years? Bro, get it later. I need to talk to Dad. I was serious this time. Dad, I want that compensation. Mr. Green frowned slightly. His idea of compensation was more family care and understanding. I used to need that. But I'm no kid now. Sis, eat first. We'll talk after. Anna picked up on what was happening and tried to smooth things over. She's always been so empathetic in front of the family. Dad, Before I could continue, Jack grabbed my hand. He's usually so good at reading the room, and he must have thought it wasn't the right time to talk about compensation. Jack, easy, my hand really hurts. Jack froze, he wasn't even squeezing that hard. I gave a bitter smile and slowly rolled up the sleeve Jack had touched. It was bruised, from years of being beaten. I could hear Mrs. Green sniffle. It was the most haunting melody in the world. Dad, you used to say I looked like you when I was little. But in prison, they said pretty people deserve to get hurt. Whenever they were upset, they'd just beat me up. Jane. Mrs. Green was in tears. Dad, I was so scared they'd kill me, and I'd never see you again. Jack's right hand started to tremble uncontrollably, a leftover response from an old car accident when he protected Anna. They dunked my head in a slop bucket. I looked at the fresh salad on the table. Now, the smell of lettuce makes me want to gag. All I dreamed about was having a cup of hot milk. But in prison, you had to pay for everything. Enough. Jane. Alex cut me off, tired of hearing it. We came to visit. You refused to see us. True, ever since my failed suicide attempt and Alex warned me to stop acting out, I never accepted their visits again. I gave him a knowing look. Alex's righteous stance crumbled. Dad. I turned to Mr. Green. Green's gaze was steady and intense. Go on. Exactly, like a king. I used to see him as the mountain in my life. Dad, I used to live in the princess room on the 3rd floor, then got sent to the 2nd. The guest room had no closet, not even a bathroom, and I was scared, crying helplessly until you slapped me. But in prison, I learned it could be worse. At least a guest room is a night's sleep. In prison, I was forced near the bathroom in a room with 20 people. I'd wake up at the slightest movement, scared someone would attack me in my sleep. Jane. Jack couldn't take any more. He gripped his fork and knife hard, trying to stop me. He hadn't realized letting Alex send me to jail would make my life hell. He was only trying to keep Anna alive. I ignored him, continuing. Dad, you'll never take me to any events or introduce me as your daughter again, will you? I'm sorry, Dad, for embarrassing you. And then the tears came. Jane, don't say that. Your dad would never do that. Mrs. Green instinctively objected, but she knew I wasn't exaggerating. Why would Mr. Green showcase a daughter who's been to prison in their social circles? But Dad, I'm glad you remember you said you'd make it up to me when I got out. Mr. Green's anger vanished with each dad I uttered. What do you want? His voice serious. Dad, I want a house. With a closet and a bathroom. Just mine. And $1 million in cash so I never have to scrounge for milk again. Plus, a decent job. My strategic retreat had worked. What I wanted was hardly anything compared to the Green family's billions or the past 3 years' suffering. Even Anna, they had bought several properties for her under the Green name. So Mr. Green agreed. I gave him a thankful smile. Thanks, Dad. Thinking of Anna's multiple properties, Mr. Green still spoke. We bought some prime real estate years ago, let's transfer it all to you now. $1 million is a bit tight, Alex will get you 10 million tomorrow. Once you're rested, start working with your brother. Alex, take good care of your sister. Alex didn't object. My smile grew sweeter. Thanks, Dad. When it was all settled, I glanced at the brooch in the box and said, it's beautiful, thank you. Mrs. Green looked more uneasy. Alex and Anna's gifts weren't exciting. A pair of custom Chanel heels. Some homemade bear cookies. Jack also had a gift for me but kept it to himself. I pretended not to notice and didn't ask. Until dinner was almost over, he spoke. Jane, Anna, and I are getting engaged. The other 4 at the table were shocked. They didn't understand why Jack suddenly gave in. They'd asked Jack about it before, but he'd never answered. I recalled the memories with Jack over the years. Jane, I treat her well because she's your sister. I just want you to get along with your family. It's the best solution compared to Anna's life. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. Turns out, happiness is fragile in the face of suffering. Jack? Anna's eyes were bright and full of joy that she couldn't hide. During my years in prison, Jack cared for her but kept his distance. She knew Jack's childhood friendship with me held him back. So, Anna tried everything, even going to the hospital, hoping Jack would commit. Jack neither agreed nor rejected. He just kept caring for her like always. Anna worried I'd take Jack back. But when Jack finally acknowledged their relationship, she was over the moon. I swallowed my food, it was hard to get down. Jack, do you remember your promise to me? Anna and I never crossed the line, I waited for you. Jack's voice was clearly angry. Why am I not kicking Anna out now that I see her sitting next to him? Didn't they always tell me to be tolerant and broad-minded? Maybe right after I went to jail, Anna couldn't wait to take my spot. No one cares if she tries to take everything from me now. I'm out of jail and Anna's still there. Nobody has a problem with it. And I'm just indifferent. Why wouldn't Jack get what this meant? Jack's comments were just trying to rile me up. We were in each other's lives as sweethearts during our younger years. It's a lover's game. We both know it. Too bad someone took it seriously. Anna with teary eyes is looking at Jack with so much emotion. I can't help but chuckle and wipe my mouth, saying, congrats to you too. Jack gets this shocked look on his face, his deep eyes are dead calm. He's searching for any crack in my flawless performance. Too bad for him, he's set for disappointment. He put me in jail all for Anna. When I begged him to believe me, he chose Anna. He knew we'd have a rift over this. But he wasn't worried, he was sure of himself. He thought when I got back, he'd just make it up to me somehow. It wouldn't be too tough, right? After all, compared to Anna's life, I just did 3 years in prison. That's what he thought. That's what everyone thought. But this time, he miscalculated. Ever since I walked down the stairs, I haven't even given him a glance. Under Jack's facade of calm, I can see his disappointment. Didn't expect the always composed Jack to get impulsive. He realized he lost control over me. He desperately tried to shatter my masked veneer. So, in front of everyone, he announced he's getting engaged to Anna. I reckon he was expecting me to object. That would prove I still cared for him. Yet, nothing he expected happened. I accepted the news calmly and wished him well. Jack was totally flustered. Before bed, Mrs. Green knocked on my door. Jane, don't blame Anna and Jack. Those years you were away weren't easy for them. The woman was trying to calm me down with bedtime words, just like before. I couldn't handle such overdue kindness. I got up to console her. It's all in the past, let it be. Mrs. Green brushed her right hand across my cheek. It's Mom's fault you suffered. I quickly moved to grab a glass of water. Her hovering hand missed my face eventually. It's okay, it's all in the past. I casually brushed it off after sipping the water. Mrs. Green disappointingly lowered her hand and pressed her lips before pulling herself together. She opened the box she brought. A 3-layered jewelry box, the Green family's heirloom collection, an emerald necklace, earrings, and bracelet set. Nearly worth $200 million. These were supposed to be yours after you got married. But you're grown up now, so Mom thought of giving them to you first. I looked at the flawless jewels, genuinely admiring, these are way prettier than the brooch. Mrs. Green's face turned slightly awkward. Jane, Mom knows you still blame me. I didn't respond, just studied the gemstones. Anna was so scared she ended up in the hospital. The doctors said her life could be at risk if not carefully treated. Your dad and I had no choice. All kids are precious, what could a mother do? Anna is your sister, too. Parents only want their kids to be healthy and safe. Even now, hearing such talk, it still irks me. I emphatically closed the box and went ice cold. I'm a bit tired. If you want to tell bedtime stories to your kids, you should head to the 3rd floor. This is the 2nd floor guest room. It's too plain. You're being too polite. Jane, your mom's daughter too. Mrs. Green broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. You knew it was Anna who pushed Lisa, right? My gaze was sharp like cutting knives, stripping away Mrs. Green's disguise. She stumbled out the door. I snickered. Should have left sooner. No need to yammer on, disturbing my rest. 8:30 p.m. is strictly bedtime. What kind of mother wouldn't love her daughter? At the Green family banquet, the eldest Miss White was pushed from behind down the stairs, left paralyzed for life. Only Anna and I were on the 2nd floor. Alex on the 3rd floor saw everything. He was the only witness. The White family wouldn't let the Greens off the hook. They demanded the Greens hand over the culprit. Alex had no choice but to say it was me arguing with Lisa, and I accidentally pushed her. Lisa's close friend also vouched. Jack gave Lisa a bracelet. She wanted to flaunt it at Jane. Maybe Jane got mad and just. My own brother's testimony left me speechless. I went over and slapped Alex hard. Stared at him, incredulous. Over and over, I asked why he lied. Alex just stood before Anna, coldly saying, "This has nothing to do with Anna." The White family took me to court. They wanted blood for their daughter. During that time, my family worked hard to change the charge from intentional harm to accidental injury. But I still couldn't accept it. I begged my dad, my mom, and Jack with tears, asking them to trust me. He's lying. It wasn't me. It was Anna. I screamed till my voice broke. This is already the lightest sentence. Everyone's working hard to help you. How long are you going to carry on? My mountain crumbled. Jane, be good, I'll wait for you to come back. My idea of love turned to dust. Mom, you don't believe me either? My last hope rested on Mom. Mrs. Green looked pained, seeing her 3 kids stuck in such a dilemma, drained and clueless about who's telling the truth. I wanted to appeal. I bit down hard, believing the law would deliver justice. But the very next day, after Mrs. Green came out from Anna's hospital room, everything changed. Alex and Mrs. Green came back again. The woman looked like she'd aged 10 years since yesterday. Her eyes carried a totally different sorrow and guilt than before. The detention center was dead silent. Mrs. Green, tears streaming down her face, trembled as she combed my hair. Jane, listen to your mom. Stop appealing. 3 years is the lightest sentence we could get. The Whites are still upset, don't make it harder on your dad and me, alright? I stared hopelessly at the 4 big words on the wall, resisting will be punished severely. I really felt abandoned by the whole world. No one believed me, though I didn't know why. I nodded numbly. Giving up on the appeal, on hope, on everything. I thought that was all of it. I watched them leave. I heard my biological mom outside the door, crouched on the ground, crying uncontrollably. At least she felt the pain. I got up to leave, and Alex's choked voice came through. Mom, 3 years, it'll be tough for Jane inside, but she'll eventually come out. If it were Anna, who's already sick at home, going in there could cost her her life. My world completely shattered. So, they knew the truth, huh? I tried to kill myself. They saved me. Alex stood alone by my bedside. He couldn't look me in the eye, his voice was cold as steel. He said, "Stop it already." Half a month later, I smoothly entered Alex's company. I sent a complete set of emeralds to the auction house. A black Bentley waited at the door. I quickly got in the car. 50-50 was my bottom line. My partner's sudden change of plan ticked me off. The man looked up from his tablet. Miss Jane, if I may, your current look isn't exactly business-friendly. I touched my head, unbothered. President Logan, this white hair is proof of my allegiance. Until I get what I want, I'll keep it to remind myself that those who wronged me are still doing just fine. He remained unmoved. Really? I heard someone got beaten up pretty bad in prison? Given that we're working together, he naturally did a background check on me. He'd be extra wary of someone who could hurt themselves. I frowned, displeased. Prison life is tough. Self-harm was just self-defense. It doesn't impact our partnership, right? True, Logan always had that calm, icy demeanor. Adding the emeralds and properties together, your worth may be 300 million. A 70-30 split, with me taking 70, is fair. I suddenly grinned, leaned close to his ear, and blew a soft breath. President Logan, are you out of your mind? Logan didn't get angry. I sat back. I have 100 ways to achieve my goal, just takes more time. If you don't want a piece of the Green family pie, we'll pretend we never met. Logan's sharp gaze pierced through his silver-rimmed glasses. He had a talent for reading people, colder, deeper, dangerously reserved. Jane, you're not fixated on money. We're just fulfilling our needs. I get revenge for you, and you help me build wealth. His voice was icy, emotionless. This isn't renegotiation, it's just a reminder that revenge against your family will cost more than you think. Get out now, and you can pretend none of this happened and go back to being the Green family's princess. I had to admit, Logan knew how to play people. Those negotiation tactics I used to impress Mr. Green paled in front of him. But prison wasn't for nothing. Slick tongue, President Logan. I smirked, but you slipped up. Logan raised an eyebrow, I'm listening. Trying to provoke me? I pinched his earlobe, icy yet scalding. Logan, you messed up. 50-50, take it or leave it, I'll handle it myself. I left the car, the driver shuddered, watching me leave. Women these days are scary. Logan went back to his screen without a word. Jack texted me, saying he's waiting downstairs, wanting to talk. Anna stood at the door blocking me. She raised her right hand adorned with a diamond ring. Sis, isn't it pretty? Anna smiled brilliantly. Jack said he'd give me anything I wanted. I was unimpressed and asked coolly, that's it? Mom gave me the whole set of heirloom emeralds, she added, showing 2 fingers. 200 million. Anna's expression faltered but she quickly hid it. Sis, how was prison? I've always wanted to apologize, but brother worried you'd scare me. He wouldn't let me visit. I never got to see you go from everyone's envied green princess to a begging puppy, such a pity. Anna feigned regret, her eyes filled with mockery. I pretended to hold back, which made her gleeful. Sis, when I first came to the Green family, seeing you like a princess, hand in hand with Mom, I was so jealous. I vowed to take everything from you. Anna, you won, I recalled the bitterness of her past lies. This delighted Anna greatly. Yes, I did. She continued, I pretended to be obedient and understanding. I worked hard in school, was social. Compared to your foolishness, they wished I were their real daughter. For me, they ignored you, your birthdays, ceremonies, even put you in jail. Even though they suspected it was me who pushed Lisa. Her angelic face was sickening. You shouldn't have pushed Lisa. She only liked Jack. What was wrong with that? She's still at home, bedridden. Anna shrugged, unbothered. She fell for the wrong guy. That stupid girl came boasting with a bracelet Jack gave. I wanted to tell her, my jewelry boxes were overflowing with gifts from Jack. Who was she to brag? Anna's face gradually twisted into a mad and sinister expression. Back in those days, she used my sister's identity to get close to Jack. But being tied to that identity prevented her from going further. She wanted to openly tell Jack that she loved him. She wanted to rightfully stand by his side. She thought, why should I care? That fool can't even figure out who's really the threat. Anna never felt remorse. Taking care of both of you at once? Even the universe is on my side. The only witness is my brother, and he chose me. I knew why Anna suddenly went crazy and stopped me. She was running out of time. I looked at the video Logan sent me today. In it, Jack and Anna were sitting in a cafe. Jack, with his fair skin and custom white shirt, looked striking in the sunlight. I heard him tell Anna that he's always seen her as a sister. He said he has a sacred bond with me and that he can only love me. Anna couldn't believe it. Jack, you clearly love me, why won't you admit it? His expression darkened. Anna forced a bitter smile, tears falling like broken pearls. I understand now, Jack. Let's break up. From now on, I'll keep my love for you in my heart. We shouldn't meet anymore, in case my sister misunderstands. I can't bear to see you marry someone else. I figured Anna's genuine love must have hurt Jack deeply right then. Sure enough, Jack lowered his head and kissed her forehead. I'm sorry, Anna. If only I'd met you sooner. Anna cried and shared a farewell kiss with Jack as spring thawed the ice and snow. Seeing her, I decided to stir things up. I showed her the text from Jack. There's nothing for us to discuss, Jack's waiting for me downstairs. The woman lost her cool. Jane, what are you so smug about? Do you realize how pathetic you looked begging Dad to compensate you, like a beggar? It's disgusting. If anything happens to me, no one will care about you. Anna laughed cruelly and stepped back. Sister, don't. A scream shattered the air. In the living room, Mrs. Green looked up to see Anna tumbling down the stairs. Anna. Mrs. Green screamed frantically. Jack's face changed drastically. He rushed downstairs and cradled Anna in his arms. She was unconscious. Jack looked up at me with extreme disappointment. Without a word, he carried Anna out of the mansion. I followed downstairs, amused by the panic around me. Jane. Alex came rushing over, supporting the shaky Mrs. Green, his eyes full of coldness and disgust. Even if you hate Anna, you shouldn't have pushed her. My indifference enraged him completely. I knew it, you're a psycho. Always causing chaos. Since you came back, everyone's been careful around you, trying to make up for the past. What more do you want? The sighs of our mother and the tears of my sister had exhausted his patience. If I'd known, it'd be better if you stayed in prison. Alex spat, harshly. Let's go to the hospital to see Anna, Mrs. Green snapped, assuming I'd pushed Anna. In truth, I had countless reasons to do so. If anything happens to Anna, I won't forgive you. Alex hissed before leaving with Mrs. Green. When Anna finally woke up in the hospital, night had fallen. I stood outside her VIP room, watching without disturbing them. Jack stayed by her side. The frailty of the woman was palpable, like watching life slip away like sand through fingers. Anna glanced at me outside the room but pretended not to notice. She gently touched Jack's tired face, forcing a smile. Jack, don't blame my sister. I'm not hurting at all. Jack held Anna's hand, kissing it tenderly. Anna, I'm sorry. I promise, when you get better, we'll get engaged. Alex, feigning irritation, scolded Anna. The doctor said it's just minor bruises. But stay clear of Jane, don't let her hurt you again. Anna softly apologized, feeling guilty. Sorry, brother. I just wanted to apologize to my sister. It's over now. Jack gently embraced her, unwilling to let her suffer more. Anna rested her head on Jack's shoulder, looking at me, her previous tenderness gone. Her smile turned cold, as if declaring victory. See, Jane, I won again. I moved out of the Green household without anyone stopping me. They all silently agreed with my departure. After all, I never fit in. Logan sat on the dark sofa. He glanced at my gray hair and focused on the invitation, concluding, your sister is something else. Unfazed, I replied, why do you keep staring at my hair? It's just awful, he answered, honestly. On the day of the engagement, half the elites and politicians of S City showed up, exchanging pleasantries. Alex stood beside Mr. Green. 2 weeks ago, he secured an urban redevelopment project, basking in glory. He's now a rising star in S City. Wearing an unremarkable dress, I walked into the venue, wandering aimlessly in the banquet hall. I found the kids' area, grabbed a glass of milk, and started snacking. Jack noticed me, whispered to Anna, and approached. I once thought we'd grow old together, Jane, Jack mused, looking at the ceremony, perhaps reminiscing or pondering life. I gave a small smile, curious. When did you fall in love with her? Jack didn't have any discomfort on his face when I confronted him. He was already at ease with me when he made his decision at the hospital. A long time ago, I noticed Anna had feelings for me. But I've got too many people liking me, no time to turn them all down. Many choose to back off when I act cold. I believe that. Jack's been admired since we were kids, like a star. But, Jane, it's you I love. I've always seen her as your little sister. Back then, you were always unhappy. Anna confessed to me it was because of her, your adopted sister, and it strained your relationship with your family. I just wanted you to be happy. I thought if I could help mend things with your family, you'd be happy again. So I included Anna, hoping you'd see she's a good person. But you got harder to deal with, Jane. You'd snap a lot, and honestly, I was close to giving up sometimes. Jack was young and proud. How many times would he apologize to me? Anna was different. Kind, gentle, fragile, yet strong. She loved me but would still tell me, through tears, to not be mad at you. She'd make me candy, pump me up to chase you again. Thinking about those sweet memories made Jack smile. She deserves to be treasured. For the love I once had for you, Jane, let Anna go. Stop holding grudges. Jack left to be with his true love. Anna stood afar, smiling at me like she'd won, waiting for Jack. I downed my milk in one go. The instructor always said not to waste food. The Green family smiled from a distance. The engagement party officially began. Among the congratulations from family and friends, I sent Anna an unexpected gift. Yeah, I pushed Lisa. So what? A twisted face suddenly appeared on the big screen. Anna screamed. Everyone was shocked. The screen continued. That night, Anna's true nature was exposed for everyone to see. They even saw the crazy woman step back and fall down the stairs. The engagement ended in a comical farce. Anna fainted from the shock. This time, no one helped her up. I walked out of the venue, feeling free. Look at your dear daughter. Your sister you protected. The woman you cherished. See her true face. Logan's people said later that night, Mrs. Green slapped Anna hard in the hospital. She shouted, calling her sly and vicious. The Green family treated her like their own daughter. Why did she want to ruin Jane repeatedly? Mr. Green was furious, he wanted to tear her apart. That woman dared mock his real daughter as a beggar. He took back all the gifts he'd given Anna. Alex instinctively wanted to protect Anna but stopped midair. He remembered she's not the sister he knew. His sister was Jane. But he lost her. The Greens tried to find me, but I vanished. My phone blew up with calls. I ignored them all. They were all Alex and Mrs. Green's apologies. For the first time ever, Mr. Green texted me, Jane, come home. We've wronged you all these years. I'll make it right. The Whites were outraged, especially Lisa, who was called a fool. She insisted on wheeling herself to court, suing Anna. This time there was undeniable evidence. Anna went straight to jail. Charged with intentional injury causing paralysis and false accusation, sentenced to 17 years. Anna clutched her chest, crying, Mom, brother, my heart hurts. The doctor rolled his eyes, it's nothing serious. A few years inside might just fix it. Alex was sentenced to 7 years for perjury and injury. Mrs. Green was heartbroken, saying it's their debt to Jane. Alex remained silent, no excuses, no appeals. He owed me, and now he had to pay. Before anyone could process what happened, another blow hit the Green family. Logan's group sued Alex for corporate espionage and more. Alex insisted he never did those things. Mr. Green knew his son's nature. He defended Alex at the board meeting, arguing they had proof the renovation was above board. In court 2 weeks later, Alex was fearless. He denied all false accusations until I, with my graying hair, took the stand. In the audience, Mr. Green, certain they'd win, erupted in rage. He wished he could slap his disgraceful daughter. Mrs. Green fainted in shock. This time, she watched me point at Alex, just as she watched Alex accuse me years back. She was devastated, heartbroken. Her once proud daughter and son. Alex and Anna used to be so close. Alex's eyes were red, why? Jane, I'm your brother. I gave him a numb smile. Why? I asked him that once. He just let them take me away then. The Greens couldn't just stand by now. Mr. Green suppressed his fury and found me. What will it take for you to leave your brother alone? Green family shares. I didn't mince words. If that's all you wanted, why did you team up with outsiders to destroy the Green family? Mr. Green raged. Jane, we know we wronged you. After you went to prison, your father prepared the share transfer papers. Mrs. Green lost her brilliance. This series of crushing blows wilted her rapidly. To prove she wasn't lying, Mrs. Green pulled out documents signed 2 years ago. When your dad and I are gone, we'll double everyone's share. But you really don't have to do this, she said. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Anna, a dog adopted from the shelter, was on par with me. Am I adopted too? Mrs. Green's face looked even more pained. We were wrong, it's your parents who let you down. We'll give you all of Anna's shares if you let your brother off the hook. I gladly agreed. Mrs. Green tried to force a smile, but it was uglier than crying. She tried to reach for my hand. Jane, how have you been outside lately? Come home, honey. Your mom really misses you. I put on my sunglasses. I bought a place with a walk-in closet and a bathroom. Living alone is comfy. The retrial began. Half a month gone, and Alex was like a different person. He was devastated, walking unsteadily. He reminded me so much of myself after my family's betrayal. The Green family came prepared with all their defense evidence. And me, their renegade witness. I took the stand again. To save my brother, my parents found me and promised me a share in the Green family. They tried to convince me to lie. I faltered. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I'm not a good person. But today, I finally got it through my head. Bad people deserve what's coming, even if it's my own brother. Alex, who had been sitting silently, finally reacted. He looked up and we locked eyes. Across the room, through time, we saw each other. As kids, I used to cling to him, calling him Big Brother over and over. Then Anna came along. Initially, he didn't pay her much attention. But he said it was funny how jealous and pouty I'd get. So, he purposely got close to Anna, teasing me. What happened next? How did we drift apart with him sending me to prison for Anna? Oh right, it was those tears of Anna's. Sweet, fragile Anna wasn't like stubborn me at all. Always crying, yet smiling sweetly. Big brother, I know you only protect me to make sister mad. But even so, I'm happy with you. That's what I overheard Anna telling Alex. Gradually, Alex's pretend fondness for Anna turned genuine. When he said, "What does it matter? She's just another sister, I still love you," it didn't. Then, he held Anna's hand and drifted further from me. I reckon he finally understood how crushed I was in court that day. No, I had it worse back then. He was just betrayed by me. But I was abandoned by everyone. I saw Alex give a bitter smile, tears etching lines on his pale face. I saw him silently mouthing words to me. Sorry, my Jane. Alex ended his life in prison. He said he'd give me all the money I'd need. Mrs. Green, heartbroken, went mad. She'd call out for Alex, then Jane, wandering the 3rd floor of the mansion. But no one answered anymore. For a mother who once had it all, it's worse than death. I didn't attend Alex's funeral. But due to childhood ties, I wore a black and white outfit on that day. The colors went well with my hair. His psychological strength wasn't on par with yours, Logan remarked. I paused and gave a more balanced take. We're about evenly weak. No one understands suicidal despair like I do. I wasn't tougher than Alex. I just clung to life a tiny bit harder. Just a tad. Since I reneged, Mr. Green withheld the shares I was promised. I wasn't really after them. It was merely a cat and mouse game with him. Logan was ruthless in the stock market. Seizing the Green family stocks during their plunge, he bought up hard. A family like theirs wasn't easy to topple due to so many shareholders. For old times, Jack convinced his family to help the Greens avoid total collapse. Yet, the Greens were ousted from the top tier. Mr. Green lost his chairmanship. With Logan's resources, he can't quite challenge Jack's family. I didn't get it, and coldly asked. Why not ask your dad for help? Logan looked at me like I was a fool. I already cut ties with my family to marry a girl. I was so choked up, almost spat blood. We split the profits as promised. A small but successful gamble. Later, I often received Mrs. Green's messages. They were odd, riddled with sayings, but I never answered. Mr. Green's health was failing. Middle-aged, with a ruined career and family, he was like a dying candle, living through endless regret and suffering. Mrs. Green had him draft a will, sending photos to me. She'd repeatedly send voice notes. She said I was her only daughter. Who would she leave it to if not to me? I ignored her. Jack and Anna's engagement was never mentioned. The truth shock left him unable to believe in love anymore. A man favored by love for half his life ended up alone. Jack's family had a large estate needing succession. He didn't marry, nor even dare to adopt. The shadow loomed too large. Losing the family headship was no concern. He forgot much of our past, but always remembered what he said to me on his engagement day. He buried his own love with those ridiculous words. His whole life, those words robbed him of the courage to even say sorry. Affectionate people, defeat them with feelings. Profit-driven folks, with benefits. Anyone who hurt me, I'd destroy. Logan was right. Revenge against one's family is a heavier burden than expected. There are no impenetrable walls in a mall. Everyone in the circle knows the mastermind behind it all. They sigh about how the Green family's parents ruined everything over an adopted daughter, yet they treat me like the plague. No businessperson wants to partner with someone who goes after their own family, even if I'm loaded now. But I never let it bother me. My life was destroyed the moment my family had me thrown in jail. I handed over the money to Logan for investments. He accepted it coolly and made the deal. His girlfriend came to pick him up at the coffee shop. It was Lisa, in her wheelchair. Logan wrapped her in a blanket and kissed her forehead gently. "Weren't you supposed to wait for me?" This usually aloof man had a tender side after all. Before Lisa's accident, he was doing his Ph.D. in Germany. I didn't expect them to know each other. Sitting in her wheelchair, the past 3 years had smoothed out her once proud edges, leaving her more serene. "How have you been?" I dodged the question. "All right, after all these years, you won. You have a great boyfriend." Lisa glanced at Logan, who hid his emotions behind his sunglasses. I pulled something out and smirked. "Logan gave me this hair dye. Bet you don't have that." Back in the day, a lively girl dashed upstairs just to show off. "Jack gave me this bracelet. Bet you don't have that." Lisa smiled, but tears welled in her eyes. I was young and foolish back then. It's all in the past. I gently wiped her tears away. I left S-City for a place where no one knew me. Betrayed by family and betraying those I loved most. All I have is a pile of cash, but I've been alone ever since. The end.